I'm now about 18 kilometers from Helmstedt, where the former border with East Germany used to be, and I'll be stopping there to have a look at what the border looks like today. This is now coming towards the former inter-German border, the border between West Germany and East Germany. This road was one of the 3 transit roads which went to Berlin and was maintained by the West German government, or rather the West German government actually paid for it. It gave the East German government a rather large amount of cash every year to keep the road maintained, and certainly the road was in much better condition than other roads in East Germany. As you came close to the border, for people going to West Berlin, they'd have more or less a cursory check. The check wasn't very deep at all. It was unless, of course, you were going further. If you were going to for example, Poland or somewhere in East Germany, then the control was much more severe. I was here in 1984, 85, and on a transit road to Poland, and you'd expect to wait at least 3 hours. Now, on the right at the moment is what was once the West German customs. It's now a petrol station and service area. For those lorries which were leaving and going on further into wherever they may be going. You'd then enter a sort of tunnel, in a way, sort of something similar to what we have here with the acoustic walls, until you got to the once you'd actually crossed the border, until you got to the East German control point. Now, visas were required for West Germans and others going to Berlin, but the visa fee was actually paid by the West German government for people travelling between the two parts of West Germany, using the East German East German territory. The transit roads were a major source of income for the East German government. Transit roads came from a number of things. One was the first thing being the cost of visas, which was at 5 marks each. The second being the cost of the money raised from traffic fines. You'd have situations, for example, when traffic coming in from the right, you could not, now most of us will go over to one side and let the traffic pass. That it was not allowed in East Germany. Another thing was that they suddenly had changes in speed traps, but almost without warning. The speed limit would become 70 or even 50 on a motorway, and the police would stand behind it, and until you got used to where these places were, then there was really no chance of avoiding it. On the right now we see a former East German tower. Control at the border. The border was here. We can see the former motto. I've just gone over the border now. There is the stand which the East German sign used to stand, and this was the area which was actually controlled by tunnel on each side until you got to the border control point, which, according to the sign, which is I've just passed now on the right, is 500 meters from here. Part of the wall still stands on the right, because the wall as such was several walls, it wasn't just the one. I'm now going to take a turning to the right and go into the former control area. Museum was built here a few years ago. First time I actually came here looking for it was in 1992. There was nothing then except a rather large area of empty buildings not doing anything. I was lucky enough, I went looking for it, and met some people from Marienborn who then worked in Helmstedt. They just had to go over the border, so it was less than 3 years after the wall came down, and they took me and showed me. Now we're coming into the area which was the control area, which here one can see the floodlights, the towers, the enormous security system put up by the German Democratic Republic, which was neither German nor democratic, of course. That being the joke. And there's the control area. I was here 3 years ago, and the head of the museum, it's now a museum, and the head of the museum was very kind enough to take me up the control point there. So I'm now going to get out the car and have a look around. Of course, today it's very interesting to see what can be done with former socialist security mechanism, which has today become a very nice service station. The route I'm now driving is the route that would have been taken by people going into West Germany from Berlin, but somewhere around where the sign is, the road, the motorway joined that which for those coming into East Germany, and here where it joins the motorway today, it joined the motorway then. The motorway then was only for use by Allied military personnel. That is to say, British checking on what was happening in the Soviet zone, and the Soviets checking on what was happening in West Germany, which was then the British zone. To the south is Magdeburg, and we're now coming up to the bridge over the Elbe River. And I remember this bridge from the early 90s because it was out of action for a very long time. Seems to be a bit out of action today, but I think it's due to painting the road more than anything else. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but it may in the East German days have only been one bridge, that was two. One in each direction, but certainly for a very long time there was just one in each one bridge for both lanes. So it was the canal over the Elbe, and now we're coming up to the Elbe itself. Rather long bridge. My memory is clearly not remembering what was what, but it seemed to me as though that type of bridge, the arch bridge, was the one in fact over the Elbe. And there it is. The Elbe River. The furthest point of American advance during the Second World War, thus meaning in April 1945 The Nazis didn't bother defending it because they knew the Americans weren't going to advance. So they got a one-front war against the Soviet Union. By which time, of course, it was too late to do anything.